we always are ensured that we're going to have a good time when we invite this gentleman onto the program, the preeminent columnist here. And once again, with apologies to Greg Cody, who, if that count is right, 50 years at one place, that can't be right. But nonetheless, and our favorite, of course, is the great Dave Hyde, multi-prize winning and award-winning columnist here for the South Florida Sun-Sentinel here in town. David, how are you, my friend? Did Cody really make 50 years at the Herald? That seems impossible. When did he count the years he was a paper boy? I mean, he doesn't seem old enough to be there 50 years.
He's a terribly old man. I think that's what that came out.
He's an old. Hey, at least he didn't say hack. That's good. No, he still has his stuff. He still has his fastball.
Yeah, tremendous. 50 years. I can't even imagine being in one place for 50 years. But then again, who could imagine I'd be at the Sun Sentinel for 35 years now?
Wow. So 35.
I'm not going to break his. I promise I will not break his record. That ain't going to happen.
Through possibly no fault of your own, you obviously in very good health. Still have your game together. Columns are always excellent.
Yep. From
Dave Hyde of the South Florida Sun-Sentinel. All right, many things, David, to get into here on the program, and not the least of which, and this is one of the great mysteries of life, and that is how under Brian Flores can the Dolphins. What's that?
You're good.
Oh, we lost you there. Okay, something was bleeding through here. How can the Dolphins under Brian Flores start every year like absolute dog meat and then rally? And once again, I mean, is this just part of the whole equation here in South Florida, like with the Panthers for so many years, where we are indeed the city of false hope? I mean, what do you make of that whole thing where all of a sudden this team is rolling and appears to be, I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but with the Giants coming here and the Jets next up on the deck, you would have to think they have a legitimate shot of being 7-7 after losing 7 straight.
7-7. We're back to where we were.
Yeah.
When we started this mess, right? I mean, 3 years ago, back to a.
And happy to get there.
That's what they were trying to avoid. Look, they get all points and credit and tip of the hat for straightening their season up. But I mean, 1-7. That ruined the season. So yeah, it looks like they found some answers. And you look at Sunday, Jalen Waddle had a big game. Tua had a big game. Jalen Phillips, Javon Holland, young players, which is something that's been missing, a component. But, yeah, they're back on. Really, this is a team, to some level, I expected to see much earlier in the season.
Yep.
I'm with you on that. It was perplexing that they could be that bad. And then everybody, I mean, naturally, the job lynch mob, Mike Lubie was leading the cry there for Chris Greer. And you had to wonder what the hell was going on, because none of these guys had really surfaced. I mean, there were still huge questions about Tua, which I would imagine there still are, even though the guy just went 27 for 31 passing the ball in an easy win over Carolina. Although I don't know. That it isn't fair also to say that this level of opposition they've been facing of late outside of the Ravens, who do not look like themselves at this point in the season, and maybe that was triggered by, that loss to the Dolphins. But, it's not like they're beating the upper tier teams at this point. We would like to see them maybe distinguish themselves with a win over Green Bay or something like that if they were on the schedule.
Well, the good thing about Sunday was Carolina had a great defense. They were ranked second in the league in yardage and sixth in giving up points. So for the Dolphins to put up 33 points and for Tua to have that game and Jalen Waddle, I mean, there was some mystery to that. How did the Dolphins really have one dangerous receiver in Waddle? And he was constantly open over. What was Carolina?
Yeah.
How could they never adjust to take him away? But that said, the Dolphins scoring 33 points against that defense was impressive, and it's told you of some steps taken. Still, when they don't really have a great rushing offense, when their offensive line is, you watch that game, it's still getting pushed around. The receiving core. I guess Devontae Parker and Will Fuller, maybe they went, what were they, on an around the world trip or something like that? Are they going to come back this year? I don't know. So, yeah, that was impressive. 33 points that game. That showed steps taken.
We didn't know how lucky we were when we had Clayton and Duper out there. You could count on them every game, and then a little crash out of the backfield and Marino throwing a rock. That ship has sailed a long time ago. Well, we've been trying to get back there ever since. So let's hope there are signs of life here, Dave Hyde, that maybe the Dolphins are crawling their way back into the right direction. And I don't know that you want to go Jim Moore on this thing and start talking about the playoffs, but it is nice to see any team bounce back that was getting hammered that badly and looked to be completely directionless and somewhat unmotivated from the front office all the way on down, or at least, as Lubie would say, appear to be clueless at that point. The Marlins are actually trying to make some moves here. We were just talking earlier before you came on, Dave, about how the people in the Tampa Bay Rays front office, they must just get together and gargle with Manischewitz and start howling when they see these free agent signings that are taking place in baseball, where you have a guy getting 3 years, 130, Max Scherzer from the Mets, Corey Seager, another 10-year, $325 million deal being procured up by Major League Baseball. But it's amazing to me. I mean, with all this money being spent, somehow the Rays always end up winning, and that would be the path you would think the Marlins would follow. But they have attempted to make a couple of moves. Is there any indication that they may be making the right moves, in your opinion, Dave Hyde, and that they will get past what was kind of a disgrace of a season last year?
Yeah, they look, they needed a catcher, and they go out and they get Jacob Stallings, a good catcher from Pittsburgh, and someone who solidifies what's really been, it's been a disaster position last year. And they needed hitting, so they got some hitting, and evidently they're still in the market for some hitting, according to the national folks who follow this stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, everybody knew they have pitching. They got a lot of young pitching, but their offense has been a disaster. So if they're making the right, moves. Are they getting the right players? Will it all fit together? That remains to be seen.
How is it, though? It is incredible. How did the Tampa Bay Rays do it? They and the Oakland A's,
I
guess.
Smarter. They're smarter than anybody, right?
Yeah.
They're just smarter than, that's what I love about, this. You got the Mets who are just spending like crazy again. And, there's those 5 teams up there who play a different game than everybody else because of the money. And then there's a team like Tampa Bay that is just smarter than everybody. And they have to hit on every trade. They trade whenever anybody's about to make money, they trade them for younger players. And they have to hit on every one or their plan goes splat. And yet they do it. And meanwhile, all this money, being spent, am I wrong? It just seems like the interest in baseball nationally is going down, and yet the money's still going through the roof.
Yeah, that's what Defo was saying.
That must be a tremendous merchandise sales. I don't know. I mean, and obviously the television deals with all these new channels
TV,
and viewing
TV.
opportunities. Yeah, probably pumped a zillion dollars into the coffers also. But no, it's staggering when you're seeing a shortstop hitting 265 in his career, and he's getting like $200 million. From a team that's not even a contender and doesn't figure to compete anytime soon. Lubie, you have one for the great Dave Hyde here, South Florida Sun Sentinel.
Yeah, you can follow Dave on Twitter at Dave Hyde Sports. Wanted to ask you, since we're talking about all this money, it's funny that the big story, and Defo's not on Twitter, but on Twitter, that's where you find the Kane fan. If you're out and about, you don't really hear much Kane talk, but on Twitter, you still find some Canes fans. They all were ready for yesterday. Yesterday was the big day. The Canes were going to get their AD, and Manny was going to be gone. It was happening. It was done. And nothing happened. I know you cover South Florida sports as well as anyone. What have you heard about what Miami's doing? Because a lot of people, even in the business, are a little sort of confused at what's going on with the Miami Hurricanes and their AD/head coaching football position.
Yeah, color me confused. Look, they've had 2 weeks now 2 weeks since the firing of Blake James, and probably another 2 weeks or a month or 2 months when they knew they were, he was on the hot seat and they start looking around for somebody. The fact that position isn't filled, maybe they have some great big picture plan that will all unfold. But I was surprised. I was told after 2 weeks they'd have somebody, and here we are, and nobody. You know, I was told they've interviewed Alonzo Highsmith, they interviewed Gino Torretta, or talked with them. You know, is there? You know, I'm sure there's other people they've interviewed that I don't know about, but you see these bold moves being made across college football. I mean, Brian Kelly to LSU, that's staggering. Lincoln Riley to USC. And speaking of baseball's money, look at college football money. Lincoln Riley, I mean, they bought his 2 houses in Oklahoma, $500,000 over cost. He's got free use of a private plane in USC. They're paying him out the wazoo. And I'm just waiting for Brian Kelly's terms to come at LSU, because if to pry him from LSU, and I get he lost twice to Alabama badly in bowl games, and he knew that, you know, to win in that, to win big, you got to go to a program like LSU, I guess, but I cannot. The sum they paid must be staggering. It must be like an all the gumbo you can eat any time of the day. You know, I mean, so at some point we're going to see Miami's hand. Is Mario Cristobal, is he interested in the job to the point of leaving Oregon? Is Lane Kiffin in play at all? I mean, he wants the job. Is he in play? You know, some point. Meanwhile, Manny Diaz is out there recruiting on the road. I mean, you talk about a bizarre situation.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to be hearing that, but
come on.
I want you to come here. You'll be a star.
If he's going to be the coach, it's time for Miami to say he's the coach. And if not, don't put him in a position, or the recruits in a position where either he has to and in good faith, because you know, it's still his job. In good faith, he is effectively lying to them, and they're effectively have to sit there and wonder, is he? You know, what happens if they accept a scholarship, and the next day Manny isn't the coach anymore. So there's a lot of strange stuff going on in Miami.
It just struck me, and I was looking at the baseball deals. I had the same thought that you did. Where is this money coming from? But with college football, I mean, you're talking about a sport that essentially is based on the principle of interscholastic athletics being performed for the physical and mental well-being of its participants there. A nice friendly competition. And then they have $120 million to give a coach. And you know, it's only like this year that they started to raise the curtain on the so-called cloak of amateurism and started to admit that, well, you know what, maybe it is a professional enterprise, but wow, it is staggering. That makes you think, as you were answering Lubie's question, Dave, you know, where does all of that leave Miami? It leaves them kind of in the same no man's land that they, you know, unfortunately have fallen into, where they're among those that you know, are in the also-ran category at this stage to compete for national championships, and it doesn't look like that's on the horizon because they're just not in a ballgame with some of these other schools. Yeah,
and you look at a comparative school, at least a smaller private school in a big city on the coast, in the USC. They went out and spent a ton of money for their head coach, and you know, they have loud former players, alumni, who've been upset in recent years. Their history is rich, but it's history in football. I mean, it's past tense. And so a lot of comparatives to the University of Miami, and yet they went out and really shook the college football world by getting Lincoln Riley. Maybe Miami does the same in a you know, not that Mario Cristobal's done what Lincoln Riley has, but that would shock the sports world too. But you know, is he in play? I have absolutely no idea. That comes down to really him and how much he wants to come back to Miami, because there's really no other reason. From a purely football program wise, Oregon has everything, and Miami is second tier.
Yeah, I mean, once Phil Knight starts writing the checks there, it's a lot better than having Nevin Shapiro on your side financially as a backer there. Is he out, by the way, Nevin Shapiro? Did he ever get out of the can?
Out.
Seems like his time might have been up.
I think he is out, yeah.
Out? Okay. All right. So it's possible we make a comeback here.
He will write a NIL. You know, that's what he really should do. Wouldn't that be great?
There you go.
He takes some Miami players under his wing and gives them money. That would be tremendous. That everything full circle.
Have him represent those bogus grocery stores he had set up in South America, whatever, that the investors were getting fleeced on.
Now he'd be celebrated for giving money.
Exactly.
He'd be celebrated for giving Miami players
Same dude.
money. It'd be tremendous. The hypocrisy of college football would be on display right there.
So
you know, a decade ago or whatever. How dare he take him out to dinner? Now it's, way to go, Nevin. Way to take him out to dinner, baby.
How was Thanksgiving, Dave Hyde? How'd you celebrate?
I stuffed myself. We do an annual thing in our house. Have friends in. Have been coming for 30, and I just overate. It was a tremendous effort by me.
Yeah, we're concerned about one of your former contemporaries at the Sun Sentinel, the great Mike Mayo, who joins us on Fridays as the Gambling Gourmet, because he almost was like Buster Douglas after he beat Mike Tyson, where he could not stop eating to the point of we're worried about a diabetic coma with this kid, because he also gets massive considerations every time he walks into a restaurant, because they're hoping that he'll say something favorable about him. So hopefully, I mean, I'm trying to turn over a new leaf after Thanksgiving. What's that?
He's the big name. And what was that movie, Mystic Pizza, where the food critic walks in and everybody's getting all nervous? That's when Mayo walks in.
100%.
But he used to.
One word from Mayo can make or break a place. It's amazing.
Yeah, I don't think he's running marathons now.
He wields a lot of power, man. He's got a gavel in his hand there instead of a pen now. All right. Thanks so much, Dave. Always a pleasure, my friend. I'm glad you had a great celebration. And, we didn't touch on the two more favorable things here in town, which, of course,
Eating Panthers.
I don't know. You're with me on this. Happiness and joy sells more papers than all of this bitterness and sourpuss, mentality that we've unfortunately had here in town with a lot of teams. But the Heat and the Panthers doing well, so that gives us something maybe to have as a springboard into 2022. Thanks so much for joining us here, Dave. It's always a pleasure, my friend.
Thanks for having me, Defo.
All right, hi, man. Thanks.
All right. Thanks very much.
Recently realized it's not just hurricane season that can hurt us. Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business. And the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. Before you call the insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752. Would you go into court without an attorney? So why would you go up against an insurance company without Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa? 7 to 10 times more money recovered with a public adjuster than if you went on your own. If there's no recovery, there's no fee. Give them a call at 954-809-8752. Why go up against insurance companies alone when you can have Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa on your side?
Happy to have you with us here. And it's great to be with you in this post-Thanksgiving week, as we're hoping that people are still functioning and ready to roll into the Christmas season. Happy Hanukkah to all of our Jewish friends out there that are celebrating Hanukkah. Seeing a lot of that. Potato latkes seems to be the food of choice, huh? Potato latkes?
Yes, sir.
Are you inclined to, at the Lubitz family dinners and gatherings, have a bunch of potato latkes? Nothing like a heavily battered fried potato to get your post-Thanksgiving diet started. Came up a little bit too soon for me. All right, Harvey Fialkov going to join us here on the program. And do we have Harvey there, Lubie? You're sending me a message. Yes, okay, good. Harvey Fialkov, of course, longtime sports writer here in South Florida, and now a universal sports writer covering a lot of different things. And always great having Harvey on the program. I mean, just uncompromising sports fan. Loves every minute of it, and very versatile in the things that he covered during his many years as a sports writer here. Harvey, how are you? Happy Thanksgiving week, and welcome to the show. Post-Thanksgiving.
Yeah, happy Hanukkah as well.
Yeah.
Happy
Hanukkah, exactly.
So, my wife's having an affair with the Amazon driver. He brings up presents every day. He knows the day. I mean, it's unbelievable. The packages are mounting up. Yeah, it's been crazy few weeks, Jeff and Mikey and Lubie.
Yes, sir.
A few weeks ago, it was all about the Heat and the Panthers. The Dolphins season was basically over, and now reverse it. The Dolphins are alive and kicking. The Heat can't beat Denver and Jokic, and they even get beat up by them. And even the Panthers, without Barkov, are starting to lose a couple of games here and there at home. They were going for that greatest start in NHL history, 11 in a row at home. They tied it. They couldn't get number 12. So crazy. Now the Dolphins can win out. What do you think?
It's not inconceivable. I don't know that they do. I think it comes back very much like last year, where and you know how this goes. It's like the body shots early in a boxing match. Those 7 losses have to sting at one point to come back to bite you, and you end up losing an oddball game towards the end, and it knocks out your chances of making the postseason, which the best they could do anyway is 10-7. I don't know if that's good enough to make it in the AFC. You would have to think it certainly would be possible. But I do see them getting to 7-7 the way they played this past Sunday, because the G-men are not very good, and the Jets we know are horrible.
And how about the Saints without Drew Brees at 5-6, very beatable, and the Patriots? They ended the year with the Patriots, and they beat them 17-16 before Mac Jones became Tom Brady light. And I got to admit, some of their wins early in this 4-game winning streak were kind of like, they were weak, lousy offense, good defense. But against Carolina, you cannot take anything away. They played great on both sides of the ball. And Tua was so efficient and right on. His marksmanship was amazing. And the defense was swarming. Waddle looked like a Pro Bowler. If only he had some help on the other side, like if this guy Fuller ever gets off the milk carton to help him out. But right now, that was their best complete game of the season on Sunday.
Yeah, and very impressive. Started out with a big play on special teams and then rallied. Now for 4 wins in a row. And yet, I don't know, has anybody really established themselves in the NFL as the team to beat? I'm having trouble buying into Arizona going all the way, even though they have posted the best record so far. Green Bay, certainly looks solid in spots when Aaron Rodgers is on his game, which is most of the time. Kansas City may be reemerging at this point, although they have to convince some people. It does appear to be pretty wide open to win the Super Bowl championship in the NFL this year.
Seattle, what's happened to Seattle? What a shocking downfall! I mean, just remarkable. Russell Wilson was the next. He was going to be in Canton before he retired. And last night was embarrassing. I don't know what happened on that onside kick. I had the sound off. Please explain why they didn't get the recovery on that first onside kick. I was falling asleep. Why wasn't that a successful onside kick? Did you guys see it?
I didn't see that play. The game became of little interest to me as I was laying 1 point I was getting 1 point with Seattle, getting 1.
Well, I was watching the Heat game also, and by the way, without Butler and Hero, the Miami Heat are an ordinary team. They're not a playoff team, obviously. And I think it's time that Max Strus is on the loose, and he needs to take over for Duncan Robinson, who cannot get his own shot. Teams are focusing on him. He's really having a horrible season. And this guy Strus does more things on the court than Duncan. I think Duncan needs to come off the bench right now because he's embarrassing himself with some of his shots.
All right. I mean, this was the guy that they had to have.
Yeah, exactly.
And, everybody loved him a year ago, and they found a way to defend him. The Heat always seem to manufacture a way to come through, and obviously any team losing its top 2 guys in the NBA probably would end up being hard-pressed to do anything. They were down in that ball game all the way and really never got into it. The good thing was I'm glad they let this go with Jokic. Although, Marquise Morris definitely got the worst of it. Hasn't played since that incident. I mean, it's almost Kermit Washington on Rudy Tomjanovich the way that went down.
I know. You get a little push in the back and you're not playing for a month and a half. It's crazy.
You can see his neck snap, though. I mean, they're saying he has whiplash issues, which as his head kind of hits the floor, I mean, his neck really snapped when he got whacked in the back there by Jokic.
I've had that before, driving, but never on the basketball court. The other loss was great last night, and so did that kid who didn't miss a shot. But Djokovic, well, he just proved why he's the MVP of the league last year, and this year he's right up. He'll be a candidate again. Doesn't play for, like 6 games with his wrist sprain. And last night, the guy is like a 7-foot Larry Bird. The way he sees the court, he hits 3-pointers. He gets rebounds. He's getting layups. I mean, they couldn't stop. He's like man mountain. I mean, Bam just falls off him, and Dedmon couldn't stop him. He's just a beautiful player to watch. The way he can see the whole court from everywhere. He throws it 30 feet across court. You think it's a lousy pass, and it's right in his player's hands for a wide open tray. So just a beautiful player to watch. I really enjoy him.
Interesting as I believe is it tonight? Golden State and Phoenix. Do they meet tonight or tomorrow night in the NBA? Golden State 18-2. Klay Thompson coming back
tonight.
The report was that he was in a G League practice, hit his first 18 shots.
Yeah.
Klay Thompson coming to an 18-2 team, and Phoenix has won 16 in a row.
Yep. With
Lubie's favorite player, Devin Booker, leading the way there. Where unfortunately, dare I mention Justice Winslow, my friend?
The Heat's point guard of the future, right?
Oh,
Devin Booker's a beautiful player to watch, but Steph Curry, boy, he deserves MVP votes already. This guy's on fire. You see, the other night, the ref teed him up, and he was really angry about it. He thought he got fouled on the play. Comes down the court, hits a fadeaway 3, and then he gives the ref the T sign. Curry.
They should have teed him up again if it wasn't Steph Curry.
That's right. He could have. That was sarcastic, man, in a way. But Curry's too lovable. He's so cute. And the whole family could still score. I mean, what a family of shooters. Arguably the best shooting family in the history of sports. Rick Barry's family is pretty good, too. The John Barry and all the Barry boys. But Del Curry could light it up from anywhere. His brother Seth. And even his mother could knock it down from 3. So I love watching the Currys.
None of the Barrys could do what Rick Barry could do. Whereas Del Curry was a great shooter, and a lot of people don't remember him because it's a bygone era, but his 2 kids, especially Steph,
best ever,
far exceeded anything that this guy was doing, and he was great. So, that has to be the Mannings of basketball.
Exactly.
If you're talking about the Curry family right now. So that'll be interesting to see what happens there, because something has to give. I think Golden State has won 7 straight, and the Phoenix Suns, after like a 1-3 start, have won 16 in a row.
Insane.
And including a victory over your New York Knicks, who have really tailed off this year. What do you make of Kemba Walker going to the Pines there, Harvey?
Well, I thought he was a shot fighter a few years ago. I did not want Kemba Walker on the Heat. They were talking about it. No, this guy has lost a lot. That's a great move, putting in Burks instead of Kemba. I love the Knicks. They go like 9 deep. But the thing is, Julius Randle, he puts too much on himself late in games, and he forces it. Early in the game, he goes into the flow of how the game is coming to him. But then he thinks he's got to play hero ball in the fourth quarter, and usually he's gassed or he's just always short on the shot. So he's got to learn how to pace himself during a game, because right now he's hurting them in crunch time. But Jalen, I mean, how about Rose, Derrick Rose? This guy. How many lives? He's got a cat. He's got like 9 lives. The guy's had such serious injuries in his career, and he's still got hops, and he's got great moves. He can still knock down the 3. He's a beautiful passer. He should be comeback player of the year if he keeps this up. But I know he was just coming off an injury as well. But hey, the Eastern Conference is rough. I mean, there's nobody dominating that really. Like you say, the Phoenix and Golden State out west, but in the East, I mean, who do you love there? I mean, the Nets without Kyrie are certainly handling business, but hey, the Sixers are overrated, and Milwaukee, Giannis is, I don't know, they're just kind of treading water. They're not dominating. They're the NBA champ. So I think it's wide open, Jeff, and that's why the Heat just got to get healthy, and I think the Heat could be battling the Nets for supremacy in the East before the season's over.
Chicken Circuit. That's what did the Milwaukee Bucks in. Remember the old Chicken Circuit theory? Yeah, that the team would get fat at all the banquets during the off season, and it would ultimately impact their following year, where they end up playing like crud. Harvey Fialkov, a longtime sports writer here in South Florida, with us on Ion Channel on the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest and Mike Lubie Lubitz.
Yes, sir.
And Harvey, you are very much entrenched in tennis coverage. What's going on with the tournaments there, and where can we find your articles?
Well, yeah, I love the Orange Bowl. Junior Tennis Championship begins this week in Plantation's Velty Tennis Center. That's my home court. You can see some of the best players in the world, juniors, 18 and 16. And then I'm covering the Junior Orange Bowl, 12s and 14s out in Coral Gables. It's beautiful, free tennis. Anyone could watch. These are stars. I'm going to be focusing on Leighton Hewitt's kid, Cruz Hewitt, Lindsay Davenport, and Rick Leach has their son in it, Jager Leach. Even Bob McAdoo has a grandson playing in the 14.
Wow.
Robert McAdoo Jr.
Wow.
McAdoo, he used to love tennis. He wanted to play me, and we just couldn't get it together. Imagine trying to lob over Big Bob. But it's going to be fun because right now, the regular tennis season, ATP, WTA, they're on hiatus until the Australian Open. If that ever happens with all the, the quarantine.
We've had Catholic
going to play, but yeah.
No, you're good.
No, go ahead. That was an unfortunate intrusion.
Check the Orange Bowl website, guys. I'll be on the Orange Bowl committee website writing for the next few weeks. But I want you to get to the Yankees. Brian Cashman's in a coma. Wake him up.
Took him a while.
He's losing everybody. Scherzer, Sega.
12 minutes in. It took him 12 minutes.
Anyone. What is Cashman doing, Lubie? What is he doing? Fire this guy. George Steinbrenner is rolling over in his grave at the Yankees. They still got Gary Sanchez, the worst defensive catcher in history. They didn't get Sterling Marte. The Mets stole him. I mean, right now, he's sitting on his hands. And he's got Joey Gallo. He's trying. You can't get rid of this guy for a bottle of Gallo wine. It's the worst. He makes Dave Kingman look like a contact hitter. I mean, the guy's awful. I mean, right now, I don't know what Brian Cashman is doing. I think he must be on a beach in Hawaii somewhere. Wake him up or fire him. Get him out of there.
All right, that was good. Most people that had the over are cashing. It took you 12 minutes to transition into a Yankee conversation.
That's record. Good for him.
Harvey, always a pleasure. I know you and the Fialkovs. I saw some pictures on Facebook of you and the family. A fantastic Thanksgiving celebration. So we appreciate you coming on the show and getting us restarted here as we try to breathe some life into December, heading into another massive couple of weeks of holiday session. So thanks so much for being with us here on the show.
My pleasure, guy. Break up the Dolphins. They're going to win them all.
There you go. Break them up. Thanks, Harvey, man.
Play the ponies in style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine foods served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.